Okay, let's try and unpack this. We're looking at the core rules for professional conduct in the investment world, trying to get a quick grasp on the essentials, the common traps.
That's right. And really focusing on how these standards play out in the real world. It's often about integrity and objectivity, especially when different interests clash. Your firms, your clients, maybe even your own.
Right. So let's start with the foundational one. What if the local law says one thing, but the code and standards demand something, well, stricter?
Ah, the conflict question. You always have to follow the more strict rule. Always. Whichever one gives more protection to investors or imposes tighter restrictions on you.
Okay, so give me an example.
Sure. Maybe local law is silent on disclosing referral fees you get, but the code requires it. You absolutely have to disclose, no question. You follow the code because it's stricter.
Got it. That brings us to something tougher. Dissociation. What if you find out your client, or maybe even your employer, is doing something illegal or unethical? You can't just ignore it, right?
Absolutely not. Staying silent, well, that's basically seen as participating. You have to act.
So you just walk out.
No, no, not necessarily the first step. Dissociation usually means trying to stop it first. Go to compliance, talk to your supervisor, try to fix it internally.
And if that doesn't work,
Then you must separate yourself from the activity. That could mean taking your name off reports, refusing to be involved in that specific work. If it's serious enough, yes, maybe leaving the firm is the final step, but you have to actively distance yourself.
okay, that's clear. Let's shift gears to independence and objectivity. This feels like a constant battleground. Gifts, benefits, pressure. How do you know where the line is?
It requires real scrutiny. Look, gifts from clients can sometimes be okay, considered maybe supplementary compensation. If you disclose them fully to your employer, that's key.
But what about gifts from, say, companies you cover or firms wanting your business?
That's different. That's where the red flags really go up. These are entities potentially trying to influence your judgment. You have to be incredibly careful.
Like, what about companies paying for analyst trips?
Exactly that scenario. Okay, maybe modest travel costs, like a standard flight and hotel, just for necessary business like a site visit. That might be permissible with
Mm.
disclosure. But
Hmm.
if it gets lavish, first class tickets, fancy resorts, maybe tickets to a big sporting event like the World Cup tagged on, or anything that even looks like it could sway your opinion or is tied to getting future business, you have to decline it, or at the very least, disclose it fully and probably pay your own way. The appearance of a conflict can be just as damaging.
Makes sense. What about pressure from inside your own firm, like investment bankers leaning on research analysts?
Yeah, a classic pressure point. Firms must have strong firewalls. That means clear separation.
How does that work practically?
Things like separate reporting lines. The investment banking division should have zero authority over research reports. They can't approve them, block them, or demand changes to suit their deals. It's about protecting the analyst's independent thought process.
Okay, so we've talked law, objectivity. Now let's focus on duties to clients. Loyalty, prudence, care. It sounds straightforward, but who exactly is the client sometimes? Like with a big pension plan. Is it the committee that hired you?
That's a crucial distinction. No, your duty isn't to the management team or the committee that hired your firm. Your ultimate loyalty is to the beneficiaries of the pension plan or the trust. Their interests come first, above everyone else's, including your firm's or your own.
Right, the actual owners of the assets.
Okay.
Yeah, and linked to that is fair dealing. Standard 3B. Does dealing fairly mean treating every single client exactly the same?
Equally.
Not necessarily equally, but fairly, equitably. It means all your clients must have a fair chance to act on investment recommendations or take part in offerings.
So, for example, a hot IPO that everyone wants a piece of. You can't just give it all to your biggest or favorite client.
Exactly. That would violate fair dealing. You need a systematic, unbiased way to allocate those shares, especially when it's oversubscribed.
Like how? What's the method? Usually it's done pro rata, meaning based on the size of the client's assets or their order, or sometimes on a round lot basis to ensure a broader participation.
Mm.
The key is having a documented, fair process that you apply consistently, avoiding favoritism.
Okay. Let's touch on market integrity. Material non-public information MNPI is obviously a huge no-no. But what about the mosaic theory? I hear that mentioned a lot.
Ah, yes. The mosaic theory is interesting. It basically says an analyst can combine pieces of non-material, non-public information with publicly available information.
And reach a conclusion that is material.
Precisely. If you piece together this mosaic of information and none of the individual pieces were actually material non-public info by themselves, then trading on your resulting conclusion is generally not a violation. You're using skill and diligence, not inside info.
That's a fine line, it seems.
It can be, but it protects legitimate analysis. What's definitely not okay is market manipulation.
Like spreading false rumors.
Exactly. Information-based manipulation, like a pump and dump scheme, spreading false positive news to inflate a price, then selling out that completely undermines market integrity. That's a clear violation.
So wrapping up the key takeaways. Always follow the stricter rule. Fiercely guard your independence. Treat clients equitably. Don't trade on MNPI. But diligent analysis is okay, and definitely don't manipulate the market.
Correct. And maybe one final thought to tie it all together. Diligence. Standard VA. Even with all the pressures, the tight deadlines, every recommendation needs a reasonable and adequate basis. You need to have done the research.
So relying on gut feelings or just what everyone else seems to be doing?
Not good enough. It has to be supported by thorough work. That diligence underpins everything we've just discussed.
A crucial reminder. Thanks for breaking down these core principles for us. It really highlights the framework needed to navigate this industry ethically.